I briefly, you know, I've been drawing all my life, and went to Art Center here in Los Angeles. It's now in Pasadena, and I told them I wanted to be a book illustrator, and they said they didn't have any classes for it because you can't make a living doing books, which in the end turned out to be true. I do. Actually, I'm doing comic books now, but I still love children's books, even though the publishing is vastly different from what it used to be when I first started. So I feel very lucky to have gotten in. I met my wife at Art Center, and we just celebrated our 43rd anniversary last Thursday. So far, so good. I've been blessed to have steady work since the 70s and right up into the current decade.
How many books have you done?
How many books have I done? I don't know. It's over 100. It used to be a tax break for publishers to warehouse books, and they got rid of that, and so a lot of books go out of print. But Amazon is buying all the old titles, so they'll be publishing them both in ebooks and in hardcover.
Have you always used the same process?
Yeah, process. That's why it's boring to talk about because it's nothing interesting, or I start with small sketches. Well, I read the story first. Small sketches, get up to large sketches, then you do the actual drawings, and then the inking, and then the watercolor. It's no magic in it, so. But now I've gotten into painting on the Photoshop, which I absolutely love, by the way. I much prefer it to watercolors. But I spend most of I started in 2003, and continue to learn because I didn't grow up with a computer. I don't know my age. I'm scared to push buttons, so I have a son that kind of helps me along. But I'm doing comic books now, and they're all on the computer. And I'll do the drawings, and then I'll scan them in and paint. So it's fun. Yeah.
What comic books?
The comic books, it's with Dark Horse Comics. They're a large independent comic book company, and I'm what's called a creator, so they don't pay you much money, but you get half of what they kind of make. So far I've not made a dime doing it, but I'm having the most fun I've ever had doing a book is with the comic books, because I wrote it myself too. And I'm not much of a writer, I know that, but I have good ideas. Yeah.
I have a 1984 edition of Wind in the Willows that you have signed, and I see that you have the readers out here. What was it like illustrating back in the 80s, Wind in the Willows, and doing the readers now?
Well, the readers are made for younger children, and to be honest, they're not that interesting for the illustrator, for me anyway. But I think I've done 3 of them. It's totally different than doing a book. Yeah. In the book we had to, actually Wind in the Willows is not full color, but the way they make the signatures and match those up, you can get a full color book that looks, it's not really full color, but it looks full color. But yeah, it's vastly different. Yeah.
We had one artist who said when he gets the text, he doesn't start at the beginning. He looks at what might be the signature visual. He starts with that, and then he works on either side. Do you start on page 1 with the text and move through the story, or do you start some different way?
Usually when I start out, it's starting from the beginning to the end. That's in sketch form. And then certain paintings I feel like doing now rather than wait. So I don't have an order. It's all over the place. Yeah. I save the boring bits for the last. Yeah.
Well, I see you're brave enough to call them comic books and not graphic novels. So.
Well, they're 4 comic books, and they're going to be, after they're out a year, they're combined into a graphic novel. They're actually one story. But
so how did you come to make that transition from the super illustrated picture book to the completely different?
The comic books? Actually, they're not different. They're more elaborate, the comic books are. And again, it's something I've done, and it's mine, so I get excited about it. And Dark Horse has left me completely alone to fail, maybe. So, but if it does fail, it's my fault. But I enjoy it. I'm having fun. And I've just finished the second book in the series. They won't be out till next year.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I do have, I want to know where you live, and did you enjoy doing the ferries, which I really love?
I live in Colorado Springs. After graduating from Art Center, I tried to get book illustration. This is getting nowhere. So I went to work for Hallmark Cards. And it was a valuable 2 years there. And then I came to work at Current, which is in Colorado Springs. Again, it's another, I think I was there for 2 years. And then I started getting work. But it was hard to get into. You know, I got all kinds of letters. Your stuff's too weird for kids. Try science fiction, and stuff like that. But I got lucky, and God, it's freezing here. And I'm from Colorado.
Yeah, that's right.
But I got very lucky. You need to work hard, but you also need some bit of luck along the way. So I got Wind and the Willows was my first big book. And after that, publishers all wanted to work with me, so they would give me ideas. And then after 2001, that sort of ended, and now you have to come up with, publishers won't come to you anymore. You have to create something. Any other questions? I need questions, otherwise.
How do you make the connection then if you don't have publishers wanting to hire you? How do you make a connection between the writers and doing the illustrations for them?
Well, for me, I just come up with the idea, either if it's a classic or a story that's, you know, public domain, I could take that. But generally, I come up with my own ideas and then pitch it to the publisher. And they, not to say anything negative about the editorial staff or anything, but they're kind of lazy in a way. They don't connect stories with illustrators. In other words, they want everything given to them. So as many illustrations as you can do and a complete story. Yeah.
What artists have influenced your work? Any?
Oh yeah, so many that my favorite, W. Heath Robinson, Hal Foster, who did Prince Valiant, Arthur Rackham. I could go on, but.
You know Kelly Frias?
Pardon? Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not, my mother wouldn't allow me to read comic books. So I grew up in the 50s and they had that. Apparently, comic books were the doorway to juvenile delinquency. So but I would read my friends' comic books. So, you know, anything that's banned is good. Yeah.
I love I'm going to go back to Wind of the Willows. I love the end papers. What role do you think the decorative end paper plays in the total production of a book?
I always view end papers as not actually illustrating a part of the story, but doing a picture that could be part of the story. So it's kind of an introduction, this is what coming kind of thing. But I'm a big believer in end papers. Yeah.
How long does it take for you to finish an average book?
What's that?
How long does it take for the book to be like in stores? You got illustrating?
Yeah, it takes me 6 months to a year to do a book, and then they're in the stores the next year. Yeah.
Do you work on several books at a time, or do you?
I used to. Now I'm lucky if I get one. So, but yeah, I do that all the time, or did it all the time. It's kind of hard. Sometimes you have 3 books that are due at the same time. Those were the days. But you know, I just work hard, work at it, and rarely missed a deadline. Occasionally missed one, but pretty rare. Yeah.
Do you think you will do another traditional picture book, or is that whole publisher philosophy kind of turned you?
No, I like children's books. I'll do more.
You do.
It's hard to work with some publishers.
Yeah.
You know, you get kind of funny editors that have funny ideas about things. That's why I like Dark Horse. They're completely, they like the work I do, so they just completely leave me alone. Except for the writing, they'll correct that.
They do. So there is some skill that you're learning.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm new at this, so I don't know how much a bubble, you know, how much a sentence takes up. So I'm having to constantly shorten the text, I guess, so it'll fit. And I had done a book called In the Small, which was a graphic novel. And that was picked up by movie studios, so maybe it'll be a movie someday. I'm not holding breath.
What's the third one?
In the Small. It's about a blue light that makes all humans 6 inches tall.
Oh, it's small.
Yeah. Or 6 inches small, I should say. Any other questions? Nothing? Yeah.
You mentioned, I think in 2001, that there's a change.
Well, yeah, I felt publishing changed right after 9/11, and that maybe because they're all in New York and they sort of get gun-shy about spending money and doing things. Anyway, I thought that was kind of one thing I could pinpoint where publishing changed. And then electronic books. I still don't know how you make money on electronic books. So we tried to figure it out, but so far I haven't figured it out. So.
Do you think print will hold its own in the long run, or
What's that?
do you think print will hold its own against it, or?
Yeah, I think there'll always be room for that. I myself prefer to read a book than a Kindle thing or something. So yeah, I think it'll always be there, but somewhat diminished. But I have to say I don't know much, so I could be totally wrong. I work in publishing, but I live in Colorado, and so I'm about as far away from it as you could get. Yeah.
You have a favorite that you have illustrated?
Peter Pan is one of my favorite books, and Wind of the Willows, were 2 of my favorite books growing up. So yeah, it was a great thrill to illustrate those. And I'm proud of.
Work, sorry.
Where are you going?
Are you wonderful?
Okay. But yeah, I like those books. And like I said, the comic book I'm working on now is the most fun I've ever worked on books. And most inventive, I think. Sometimes you get deadlines where you just don't have enough time. And what you should say is, you know, I can't do this, but I usually did it and then regretted it afterwards. I won't mention the book's name.
Is it for sale?
There's a couple for sale. Yeah.
For your watercolor paintings, could you tell about your materials and your process?
On watercolor, it's kind of the same that everybody does. You know, I like to work wet on wet, but then after that I go back in and almost work it as though we're an oil painting sometimes. I never had proper training in watercolors. But it's just, you know, once you get your final drawing and then inking, then I wet the canvas and paint wet watercolor on the wet canvas. Gives nice effects, and then you let it dry. But there's a lot of things, you know, you use salt to get texture. But I don't know. I don't know any secrets. I wish I did. But then I wouldn't tell. Huh?
Do you use gouache?
Do I draw?
No, gouache.
Certain colors I will use gouache. Never use white. But I think olive green I like in gouache. But it's mostly watercolors. And like I said, I don't know how to paint in gouache. So I just use it like a oil painter, like I use a watercolor. Yeah.
What's the best piece of professional advice you got early on?
Best piece of advice I got?
When you were first starting out?
To stick at it. Because, you know, somebody, eventually you'll get a break. And so I got a break too, but years and years of sending portfolios to publishers with kind of snarky, you know, replies. Well, you know, they just said this stuff isn't really good for children or something, nothing they want to publish. But then, you know, people change and people get, you know, go to another business and another editor comes in and they look at it different. That's why you should never give up. Any other questions? I'm sorry I don't have a demonstration, but I never do that. I did it once in Detroit, and
Look what happened.
it had a giant pad like this, and it had a marker that I had to use two hands to do almost, and because it would see well in the back. But you know, I said, you know, you can draw anything. E.T. had just come out, so the kids said, draw E.T., and I turned around and realized I had no idea what E.T. looked like. So I chose something with big eyes, yeah. But I don't know how to do that talk stuff, so I don't do it. I'm 65. I don't have to.
You said your wife, you met your wife at Art Center. Is she still?
She writes. Yeah, she was a very good oil painter, but she hasn't done painting in a while. But yeah, we met in Art Center, got married at Art Center, had a reception at Art Center. And this was the old.
You did. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well,
Like doing this?
you're very kind.
Thank you very much.
Okay.